Just got back from the Everest Base Camp trek. Feel not great. Hands are dirty. Gonna clean myself up, get the laundry sorted, and then talk about things that I've learnt along the way that might help you. Okay. Burn where all my snot has been coming down, and it's cold and the skin's got really raw. Haven't had a shower in well over a week. Ooh. Nice. Ugh. Ow. Double up. The thick stuff. Ah. Yes, sir. Feeling much better. Right. Right, so I fell asleep and I'm in a new room, but I wanted to go through things that I've learned, some tips and tricks from the Everest Base Camp trek. Everything from small bits to time-saving stuff, to small pieces of kit. I'm not going to go through all the itemized pieces of kit. If you want a video like that, watch the Ian Taylor trekking video. You've probably already watched it. If you're anything like me, this won't be the first video you've watched about the Everest Base Camp trek. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about kit, but most people stay in a place called Tamil in Kathmandu, and there's loads and loads of hiking shops. There's one every sort of 20 meters. But the quality isn't that great, so if you're going to spend money, I would spend it on boots, a good jacket, and definitely a good sleeping bag. Being cold at night is not fun, and it'll start to wear on you as the days go past. So I got an OEX Leviathan 900. It was the cheapest -10 sleeping bag I could find. Cost me £140, I think, which was easily half the price of, you know, your RAB equivalent. And it kept me warm the whole time. From Go Outdoors, I think. The other caveat is that I got altitude sickness about half a day from Everest Base Camp. So if that qualifies me out of giving advice, then so be it. I wish you well on your YouTube journey. 10, 11 days there were a few things that I couldn't find on any other sort of video or articles. So I hope these tips are useful. In terms of when to go, again, I've only gone once. I went in December, which is off season, but everybody that I've spoken to that works in the industry has said that the peak season of March, April, September and October are awful. One person described. They said that it's so busy, it's incredibly dusty because you're fighting the dust the whole time. It's hard to get good tea houses, big groups get preferential treatment, and it's just not the same. I liked December. Yes, it was a bit cold above 4,000 meters, but it's the month with the least precipitation, so we pretty much had clear skies and sun the whole time, and there was barely anybody on the trail. There was maybe 3 or 4 other people in the tea houses when I was there, which was great. I just had a guide. I prefer being solo, but I guess if you want to go in a group, that's your personal choice. I only saw one other group of between 10 and 15, and it didn't look that fun because seriously, the dust it's hard enough walking behind 1 or 2 people. If you're behind 10, you're pretty much going to be walking through a sandstorm at certain points, in my opinion. I don't know, I've never done it. So when you fly into Lukla, the first couple of days, what would I say? Get in front of the donkey trains because they smell and it's going to kick up more dust. Again, another reason to go in off season. And also, I mean, you're probably going to do this anyway, but you don't need to stop and take pictures of everything because the views only get better. So conserve your battery and stay in front of the donkeys. And everybody else. I did it, but I realised about 2 hours into the first day that I was just stopping way too much, and my guide kept on saying, this is nice, but it only gets nicer. When you're on the trail as well, how do I put this? Go slow. You have all day. You only trek for maybe 3 to 6, maybe 7 hours a day. So you have all day to do that stage, whichever stage it is. And so not only does going fast and exerting yourself, from what I've read, increase the risk of altitude sickness, but you're also going to be more tired, and that sort of builds up as you go along. Just enjoy it. Take it easy. It took me a number of days to figure that one out, which was frustrating, but just take it slow. There is no race, and there's no rush. Once you arrive at the tea house, there are a few things that I personally did. One, religious baby wipe bath. Stop yourself smelling. I don't think I smelled that bad throughout, because I was militant about doing my pits, undercarriage and feet. Once you get above 4,000 meters, if you arrive early enough in the day, which you probably will because you'll start early, get your socks and your boots in the sun to dry. It's something that I didn't think would happen, but because it's so cold, if there's any moisture in your boots or in your socks, when you wake up the next day, it's almost frozen. So it's double cold. So get them dry as quickly as possible. Once I started doing that, I had a much nicer morning. I would then get my sleeping bag out so that it could loft up. And then once I've eaten and I'm ready for bed, what I would do is I'd go and brush my teeth, take a pee, get everything ready, and then I'd go back to the sort of dining area and sit next to the stove till it felt like my legs were burning. And because I'd already done all my sleep stuff, so to speak, I could then just go and run and jump in my sleeping bag, and I wouldn't have that weird sort of 20 or 30 minutes where it doesn't feel like your sleeping bag's heating up and you're a bit cold. I would just jump in, and because I was already roasting hot, I was already sort of immediately comfortable. So that worked really, really well. A lot of people do say, hey, just fill the water bottle up with hot water and then put it in the sleeping bag. You can do that. I didn't end up doing that, but I guess that works as well. And then sort of paradoxically, the lights tend to get turned off about 9 to 10. If you're still awake, wrap up, brave the cold and go outside. Especially above 4,000 meters, the stars are indescribable. If you don't go outside and look at the stars above 4,000 meters, you are missing out. I can only imagine what the stars are at the south col of Everest at, I don't know what that is, above 7,000 meters. But it's something that I would highly recommend. So let's talk about electronics. You're going to have a phone, you're going to have a camera. Charging is relatively easy. It might have been the fact that I was in off season, so there weren't that many people in the tea houses, but in Namche Bazaar we had sockets in our rooms, that was free charging. In Pengboche it was free charging. In Dingboche and Lobuche they had a sign that said, 300 rupees for an hour for your mobile and 500 rupees an hour for power banks. Most of the time I just said, I'll pay you 700-800 and let me charge everything fully, and they allowed that. I imagine that's very, very different in peak season, which is another reason why you shouldn't go in peak season. If you do want internet on your phone, a local SIM from Ncell costs 500 rupees for 20 gigabytes, but it doesn't work higher up. You can get something called Everest Link, which I think is 2,000 rupees for 20 gigabytes, and that works all the way up if the router's working. So I didn't spend much time on the internet. It didn't really feel like the place. Just downloading podcasts and stuff when I needed it. Everest Link seemed like a decent deal. It's certainly better than paying for Wi-Fi at every single place that you go to, because they'll charge either by the hour or they'll give you like a 20-hour slot. If you have a big camera, get one of those, I don't know what they're called, it's like a cold shoe mount for your strap. It sits on your strap and it can sit there. Otherwise, you have to be a mug like me and carry it in your bag, and then once it gets too cold for your hands, you have to strap it on, and then if you want to take a picture, it's a pain in the ass. Everybody that I saw that had these mounts, they were fairly smug. That's something that I think I'm going to buy. If you have a GoPro, these batteries, at least in my GoPro, did not work. It was too cold. Even lower down on the second day, they would video for 5 seconds and then turn off. Make sure you have the new Enduro batteries. They work really well. Well done, GoPro. Small sort of random things. Gaffer tape on the bottle. I used this twice during the trek for other people, not me, but other people that had ripped their down jackets and it was spewing out down. Just rip a piece off, stick it on. Doesn't add anything to the bottle. I'm probably going to leave it on there, just in case. I don't know what situations I'll be in, but that's really helpful. A really, really big one, especially if you go in peak season, are earplugs. These little buggers will be very helpful, especially if you're a light sleeper. The tea houses are basic, so they've got really thin walls, wooden floors, and everybody's wearing boots. So if you go to bed early, or you're just trying to sleep, and there's people that are staying up, and they're walking up and down, you can hear everything. Even the sort of the 2 floor ones, you can hear people in the dining area talking. So I would definitely take earplugs. Bear in mind that I use these quite a lot, and there were maybe 3 or 4 other people in the tea houses. I cannot imagine what it's like when the tea houses are completely full and every room is full and people are just walking up and down and talking, laughing, doing what normal people do. So earplugs, definitely take them. You can buy them off Amazon and they come with one of these things so you don't lose them. Because if I didn't have that, I would 100% be losing them. And then the other thing, nasal spray. It's so dry that you wake up and you feel like you've got a hangover. Your mouth's really dry, and all the mucus in your nose, especially the higher up you go, it's just completely dry. So you wake up and you feel like a new man, kind of. It's a little luxury that for some reason I had it in my bag and it turned out to be a great choice. The other one is sun cream. So surfers use this a lot, but just a stick is really good. Mainly because we were reapplying sun cream maybe once along the trail, and once it gets cold, you don't really want to be having, normal sun cream and putting it on your face and then it's all sticky on your hands. This, you just get to top up the major parts and you don't have to take your gloves off. That was good. So those are the small bits. I took some electrolyte powder. Most of the stuff's already been covered in other videos. I would say add another day at Pengboche so that you can go to Amadablin Base Camp. That was cool to see the winter base camp there, and you get a great view of a fairly spectacular mountain. Cholazzo Lake, nobody seems to go there. And my guide, who has done the trek 100 times, we figured out, he has never been there. And he now said to me, I'm going to make sure that people add that to their itinerary. It's between Dingboche and Lobuche. It's about 4,500 meters. Ganesh and I went there and we didn't speak to each other for about 40 minutes. We just sat there listening to the lake, which was frozen, and the wind and the noise of the lake doing its thing. It was my favourite place throughout the whole trek, albeit I didn't see Kalapatar or base camp, so I might be a little bit biased there. And then probably a very specific one, if you take daily medication, take a lot more than you think you'll need. Mainly because of 2 reasons. One, it gives you the flexibility. If you come down from base camp and you say, oh, I'd really like to go to Gokyo Ri, that's an extra 3 days. So if you don't have the meds for it, you're not going to be able to do it. The bigger one, which is something that I didn't take into account, you can be delayed at Lukla for days if the weather's bad. My guide has once been delayed 8 days. So when he told me that and I figured that one out, I had sort of a frantic rush to my bag to count all my medication to make sure that I had enough in case we had a delay. So that's something to bear in mind. That could catch you out quite badly. But other than that, if you are thinking about doing the base camp trek or just going to the Himalayas, it far exceeded my expectations. It's so good. As I said in some of my videos, I thought that there would be days when I was just a little bit bored and just making my way up the mountain, but I didn't have a single day where I was bored. It's hard to explain. The scale of the mountains and the region is, pictures don't do it justice, and I'm certainly not eloquent enough to describe it. It's something that you have to see for yourself. So if you're on the fence about it, you don't need to, if you value my opinion, that is. Just go. You will not be disappointed. Other than that, I hope these sort of little tips and bits of advice help. If you have any others, let me know. And if you're going on the trek, enjoy yourself. It's really, really good.